Welcome to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. I'm Bernie Flowers, one of Uncle Sam's wayward children. I believe that our country's best days are still in front of us, but if those best days are to come, we need to change the direction of the country now, before it's too late. I intend to talk about important issues and topics every week in hopes of helping to improve our country and our way of life. Please like, share, and subscribe. Our guest for episode 48 is Delegate Trent Kittleman. During the time she was an entrepreneur and partner in Genderstrategy, LLC, she wrote the book, Why Must There Be Dragons? Empowering women to master their careers without changing men. In 2008, she served as a consultant for the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission. In 2004 to 2007, she was president and CEO of the Maryland Transportation Authority and served as Deputy Secretary, Maryland Department of Transportation. She's a lawyer by trade, and she practiced law in a large D.C. law firm for 5 years. She also has so many accolades and accomplishments that it would take me the rest of the day to tell you about them. She lives in West Friendship and has 5 grandchildren attending Howard County schools. And all I can say is that this eminently qualified candidate is running for Howard County School Board, and that I will personally support her. Without any further ado, Delegate Kittleman, how are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine, Bernie.
Outstanding. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on our program. A whole lot of people are going to see you.
Well, I hope I say something that makes it worth their time.
I know you will. You always do. So are you ready for some questions?
I am.
Okay, here we go. Most politicians start out with the school board as a springboard to the state legislature. You've already been in the state legislature, so why are you running for school board?
Yeah, that is the question that I get first from everyone, and I have answered it for about 5 or 6 different questionnaires. So I think what I'm going to do is I finally have it fine-tuned, and rather than missing anything, I'm going to read this short paragraph that explains exactly why I'm running. I am running because I am passionate about education, because my 8 years in the legislature brought me face to face with the depth and the breadth of the problems in the current state of education in Maryland. Howard County needs a knowledgeable, experienced leader who knows how to read a contract and what questions to ask staff. Too many unnecessary and avoidable problems are happening. Students should be transported to school on a bus, not walking up to 2 miles, and they should feel safe when they get there. Deferring maintenance is unacceptable. Our students should never have to go to a school that has mildew or mold or bad air or not enough bathrooms. And the persistent failure to meet the needs of our special education students must come to an end. While Howard County still stands as a premier school system, the margin is narrowing and our academic scores are falling. I want to see that stops and that our schools, just like our students, are once again the best and the brightest. And that's why I'm running.
That's a good reason. Outstanding. Got another question for you.
Okay,
ready?
I'm ready.
Tell us about your experience in education.
I think that my experience that is most relevant and has brought me into most contact with the Howard County schools and the kids is my participation in the 5th grade program called the Simulated Congressional Hearings Program. And for anyone who doesn't know about that, I am going to tell them about it. It is a program in which our 5th graders learn about the U.S. history, the Constitution, and how we got started as a country. And they study this all year long. They're divided into groups of about 5 kids. And on one special day, they have this wonderful presentation that they give to us volunteer judges. There's usually about 3 of us, and we sit there. They give their presentation, then we ask them questions, and because it is 5th grade, these are pre-programmed questions, and then we give them feedback about how well they do, and they do so well. And I am just so thrilled that in our county, our students, they will know what the Constitution of the United States is, and they will know we have one. And I can't say that about everyone who was in the state legislature with me. So I have been volunteering as a judge in that program for the last 15 years, and usually with about 5 schools. And this year, because I am running for school board, I broadened my scope. I'm going to the elementary schools in my district, but I'm also going to a number of elementary schools across the county, because you may be elected from a district, but you represent everyone. I've done other things in education, but I think, well, one of them is once I decided that I was going to run, and really turned my focus away from education statewide and onto Howard County, I started writing a newsletter. When I was in the legislature, I wrote over 100 newsletters weekly during session, and I began writing about education in Howard County, and it's called A Voice for Parents. And I have just published my 9th one, and anybody can have a copy if they would just let me know. I'll put them on the list. And I just talk about things that are happening in education, and in doing so, I become knowledgeable. I have been watching the school board meetings since August. Now, anyone else might say that is true suffering. Running for school board is not something you do because you want glamour. This is a very tough job, and I really admire the people who are there. It's all year long. I mean, they work so much harder than legislators that it's not even a close call. But watching them and listening to what they're saying, learning about the issues, and hearing the testimony of the Howard County Education Association every year, and you just learn so much of what's going on, and you learn about the process. And the process is something that I feel very strongly that I could make a great contribution to. I'm knowledgeable about Robert's Rules of Order, and there's just a certain amount of experience that makes it a little easier for someone such as myself to make things work a little bit faster. So those are the things that I have done, and I think I bring that to the school board, and I hope I'm a member of it next November.
I sure hope you are too. One more question for you.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Tell us about your vision for the future of the Howard County school system.
You know, there is a man whose name is Stephen Wallace.
I know him well.
He lives in Howard County, and he was the principal of Harper's Choice Middle School for a number of years. And when he first got there, Harper's Choice Middle School was the worst middle school in the entire county. Everything about it was bad. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that when they asked him to go, he said, okay, but I need to be able to do what it takes, and asked for some leniency in the rigidity of the policies that often hamstring principals from doing what they know would be best for the kids. And he was given that. So he was very, very fortunate. Pardon.
Take your time.
Within 4 years, this man turned that school around completely to the point where it was winning awards nationally. He wrote a book. It's called Dead Last. And anyone who wants to know my vision for the schools in Howard County should read that book. The kids in that school were learning. Didn't matter what color they were. It didn't matter whether they were farms kids or poor kids or anything else. They were learning because of the standards and the expectation that this man brought to the table. He expected the kids to do well, and that made them expect to do well themselves. And there's just so much that he has going on in that book, and I haven't even scratched the surface. But that is my vision for Howard County schools. I don't know how easy it will be to get there. There are a lot of things we're doing now that are new and different that are fine. But the focus on academics, on discipline, on getting kids focused on the things that schools are there for are things that I think I can bring a good deal of, that I can help.
I think you can do a whole lot, and I think Stephen Wallace can do a whole lot too.
Absolutely.
Outstanding. I have his book as well, and it's everything you say it is.
It is.
So, here we go. I've said enough. The people want to hear from you. Tell them anything you'd like to say. The floor is now yours.
Well, I would first ask for your vote. If you live in District 5, that's Western Howard County, north of Route 40 and 108, more or less. It's a very large area. We have very good schools out there, but nothing is perfect. I think that I would particularly draw your attention to my website. My website is not what you would expect to see from a politician, because I've had it for a very long time. And what it is, you talk about transparency. If you go on there, you will find out more about me than you could possibly want to know. Issues as well as background and just about anything that you might want to know is on my website. It's trentkittleman.com. I love talking to people. I love it when people respond to my newsletters and send me, whether it's positive or negative. I got a negative response to one of my newsletters. It had to do with special education. And I valued that so much because her perception was different from what I intended it to be. And I immediately wrote back and say, this is not what I intend. And we established communication. We actually ended up talking on a Zoom call for about an hour. And she really gave me a lot of good information. And that led to, a great deal of interest of mine. I've always been interested in special education. I will tell you, when I was in the legislature, every year, the special education teachers would come to the legislature. One of my favorite parts was when people came into my office to talk to me. Didn't matter whether I agreed with them or not. We had great conversations. But the special education teachers, they are overworked, won't say underpaid, but there's a lot of the truth to what they're being asked to do. We're losing a lot of them, and it's just a very, very difficult situation for parents and for the teachers. And with the situation with money that we have right now, there are a lot of changes that we're going to have to be looking at. And I believe there's some ways to do it without just cutting everything out. For example, I think that one of the things we can do with regard to maintenance and building new schools is to follow, believe it or not, Prince George's County's lead. They used a public-private partnership, a P3, to build schools. I was familiar with them in the state government, but there are good and bad things about P3s. However, in this circumstance, they were able to get 6 brand new schools built in 3 years. There are some wonderful reasons to use this as a way to, particularly with the problems we're having. We have so many schools that are over 50 years old, and that's something I think that is coming, and it should be. Excuse me. A lot of what is wrong with the schools, as I have found out watching them for so long, is not something Howard County can independently correct, which I'm very unhappy with. There are mandates that come from the feds, but more particularly from the state. I cannot begin to tell you how many bills about education were brought up and passed during my time in the legislature, most of which I opposed because local school systems generally know what they need and how they need to do it. And even the blueprint, I was there during the entirety of the blueprint process. And although there's some good things, and certainly there was a lot of sincerity involved in creating it, it has two flaws. One is they never put any money, well, I shouldn't say that. They are putting money behind it, but they are requiring the counties to do likewise. Counties can't afford what they're being told to do. They have to match state funds, and they have to do what the state says with regard to programs. Now, maybe there are school systems that need to have guidance as to how to do their programs. Howard County generally does not. And being forced to change how we're doing things to satisfy the blueprint not only could turn out badly for our students, but it's going to cost a whole lot more. And I just think this is something we're going to have to look at and talk to the state about it, and I hope maybe work out some reasonable solutions. So I could go on, but I think I'm putting everybody to sleep. So
No.
I think that running for the school board this day and age is critical, and I think people are paying more attention to it after the pandemic, when parents were sitting next to their kids and saw things that were going on in the schools that were so very different from the schools that we remember when we were in school.
Yeah,
There's a lot of interest and a lot of things people are upset about. So hope I can help.
I think you can. That's why we're behind you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Bernie, and I'm behind you. You'll be
Amen.
the right congressman.
Thank you so much.
Uh,
Delegate, how can people reach you if they need to?
my email is very easy. It's Trent Kittleman at Verizon.net. And I respond to all of those emails. And then again, I would say on my website, just go there and we can donate, you can respond, you can see everything you want to know about me, and that's TrentKittleman.com. I am also participating on Facebook, Instagram, and occasionally on X. Not quite as much as some people do it. It is not a every day, all day practice. But I do think it's a good way to communicate with a lot of people who don't necessarily communicate on other forums.
Well, Delegate, Trent, my friend, thank you for coming on the show. We look forward to having you back on sometime real soon after you win. And we expect that. And that's about it for now. Thanks again.
Thank you.
You have yourself a great, great evening.
You too.
All right. That's about it for now. This has been the Loyal Opposition Podcast, produced in association with Liberty Arise Media, Fallback Productions, and other podcasters. I ask that you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast and to this channel. Be sure to get your copy of my book, Black Values Matter, available on Amazon or as an ebook on Audible or on Apple Books. And also, remember, it's okay to disagree. But if we want our country to prosper, we must insist on unity, transparency, and civility from ourselves and our fellow citizens. Thank you for listening to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. See you next week.